Fairy Tale, Hansel and Gretel.
Once upon a time, on the edge of an old forest in a small house, there lived a woodcutter with 2 children. The boy was named Hansel and the girl Gretel.
Soon, the woodcutter remarried, and a stepmother appeared in the house. The family was so poor that there wasn't even enough money for food. One evening, tossing and turning in bed from side to side, the woodcutter sighed and said, "I don't know what to do. What are we going to feed the children? We have nothing to eat ourselves." And the stepmother replies, "Let's take the children to the forest tomorrow morning. Make a fire, leave them there, and not come back. The children will never find their way home from the forest by themselves." The woodcutter sighed and sighed. He pitied the children, but in the end, he agreed with his wife. Only the children weren't asleep and heard everything. Gretel began to cry quietly, but Hansel didn't shed any tears and promised his sister he'd come up with something. When the grown-ups fell asleep, the boy slipped out of the house and filled his pockets full of small white pebbles. In the moonlight, they sparkled like pearls. Early in the morning, the stepmother woke up the children, and they all went to the forest together. As Hansel walked, he threw the pebbles out of his pocket one by one without anyone noticing. 10 steps, 1 pebble. In this way, the boy marked the whole path from home. Deep in the forest, the woodcutter made a fire and sat the kids down to bask in its warmth. Then he, along with the stepmom, went off to work. The children sat for a long time, waiting for their dad to come back until they fell asleep. And when they woke up, it was already night and the moon was shining. Hansel took his sister by the hand and went looking for the path home, marked by the pearly white pebbles in the moonlight. All night the children walked. And at dawn, they knocked on the door of their house. The stepmother got angry, but the father was very happy that his son and daughter returned. He felt very guilty for leaving them in the forest. But soon there was even less to eat in the house, and then the stepmother persuaded her husband to take the children even further into the forest and locked all the doors so that Hansel couldn't come up with anything again. The stepmother woke up the children very early and gave each a tiny slice of bread. On the way to the forest, Hansel crumbled the slice of bread in his pocket and threw the crumbs on the road without anyone noticing. In this way, they came to the very heart of the forest where none of them had ever been. Again, they made a fire. The stepmother and father left again, giving the kids strict orders to sit and wait for them to return. On a dark night, the children waited for the moon to appear, but they couldn't find a single crumb. Probably the birds had eaten them up during the day. So, Hansel and Gretel simply went forward until they came to a small house. It was made entirely out of gingerbread. The windows were caramel and looked very yummy. Hansel was very hungry, so he immediately broke off a piece of gingerbread roof for himself, and Gretel a piece of the window.
Who's there?
The children didn't even notice that an old woman came out of the house, leaning on an old and crooked stick.
Come inside. Be my guests.
Yummy treats were waiting for the kids in the house. Milk and cookies. When they had eaten their fill, the old woman put them to bed in soft, clean beds. But Hansel and Gretel didn't know that this old woman was an evil witch, and she built the gingerbread house on purpose to catch small children. Early in the morning, as Hansel was sleeping sweetly, the witch grabbed him and locked him up in a cage. Then the wicked old woman woke up Gretel and ordered her to cook some food. Lots of food.
I want to fatten up your brother, and when he gets plump, I'll eat him.
She laughed viciously. Oh, how Gretel cried. But there was nothing she could do, and she had to do as the witch ordered. 4 weeks, the girl cooked food and fed her brother, until finally the old woman decided that it was enough.
Hey Gretel, come on lazybones, bring some water. I'm now going to roast your brother and eat him,
shouted the witch to the girl. Gretel brought water and large drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. When the witch had heated the oven, she called the girl once again.
Crawl inside and take a look if there's enough coal.
Gretel immediately realized that the old woman wanted to roast her along with her brother, so she pretended that she doesn't know where to look.
Stupid girl,
the old woman said angrily, went over to the oven and even stuck her head inside. Then Gretel pushed the witch from behind so that she immediately fell into the oven. The girl slammed the oven door shut. The witch howled terribly and dissolved into yellow sparks, as if she had never been. Gretel immediately ran and freed her brother. The children were so happy they jumped and hugged for joy, and since they now had no one to fear, they went into the witch's room, which she always kept firmly locked, and found there, no, not gingerbread, but chests full of pearls, gold and silver. Hansel and Gretel took as much treasure as they could carry and continued their journey through the forest again. Soon the forest began to seem more and more familiar to them, until, finally, they saw their father's house in the distance. The woodcutter cried for joy when he saw his son and daughter alive and well. He had kicked the mean stepmother out of the house a long time ago and was terribly sad that he had abandoned his kids in the forest. When Hansel and Gretel began taking gems out of their pockets, he was very surprised. After all, now they had something to buy food with, and the 3 of them began to live in joy and prosperity. That's how Hansel and Gretel defeated the evil witch. They didn't give up and fought hard. So don't forget, my little friends, a sharp mind, a quick wit and determination will always lead to success. The Bremen Town Musicians, a fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. A long time ago, there lived a miller. And this miller had a good, smart and strong donkey. The donkey worked at the mill for a long time and carried sacks of flour on its back. But in time, it got old. The owner saw that the donkey had weakened and that it was no longer suitable to work at the mill. So he drove the donkey out of the building. The donkey was frightened and asked, "Where will I go? Where will I go? After all, I have become old and weak." And then he thought about it and decided, "Let me go to the city of Bremen. I will be a musician there." And so he went to Bremen. The donkey walked along the road and hee-hawed in donkey grief. Suddenly he saw a dog lying on the road. She stuck out her tongue and was panting. "Why are you panting so hard, dog?" the donkey asked. "What happened to you?" The dog replied, "I'm very tired." She had run for such a long time that she was out of breath. "Why did you run for so long, dog?" the donkey asked. "Oh, donkey," the dog answered him, "have pity on me. I'm in a bad way. I used to live with my owner and honestly served him. I ran through fields and forests and marshes hunting for game, and then I got old. My owner decided to get rid of me, so I ran away from him. What am I supposed to do now? I don't know." "Do you want to go with me to the city of Bremen?" the donkey asked her. "We'll be street musicians there." "You bark loudly. You have a good sonorous voice. You will sing and play the drum, and I will sing and play the guitar." "Good," the dog said. "Let's go." And they went on together. The donkey walked, hee-hawing like a donkey. The dog walked, barking like a dog. They walked, and suddenly they saw a cat sitting on the road. sitting sadly and totally unhappy. "Why are you so unhappy?" the donkey asked him.
Why are you so sad?
The dog asked. "Oh," said the cat.
I feel terrible. Have pity on me. I was living with my mistress. I lived well and long, and I honestly caught rats and mice. And now I'm quite old. My teeth are worn out, and my mistress decided that I could not catch any more rats and mice. And she decided to get rid of me. So I ran away from home, and now I don't know what to do. How can I eat?
The donkey asked him, "Do you want to come with us to the German city of Bremen? We will be street musicians there. Your voice is resonant and you will play the violin. The dog will play the drums and I will play the guitar. And we will all sing."
Well,
says the cat,
let's go.
And so they went on together. The donkey walked and hee-hawed like a donkey. The dog walked, barking like a dog. The cat walked, meowing like a cat. They walked and they walked. They were walking past a yard and saw a rooster sitting on the gate, sitting and cock-a-doodle-dooing sadly.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
"What are you screaming about, rooster?" the donkey asked him.
What happened to you?
The dog asked.
Did someone hurt you?
The cat asked. "Oh," the rooster replied. "Have pity on me, dog, donkey, and cat. Tomorrow my owner's relatives are coming to visit, and they are going to cook soup from me for the guests. What should I do now? I don't know." The donkey asked him, "Do you want to come with us to the German city of Bremen? We'll be street musicians there. Your voice is resonant and you will play the balalaika. The cat will play the violin, the dog will beat the drum, and I will play the guitar. And we will all sing." "Why not?" said the rooster. "I have nothing to lose. Let's go." And they all went down the road together. The donkey walked, hee-hawing like a donkey. The dog walked, barking like a dog. The cat walked, meowing like a cat. The rooster walked, crowing like a rooster. They walked, and then night came. The donkey and the dog lay down to sleep under a big oak tree. The cat climbed up on a branch, and the rooster flew to the very top of the tree and started looking around. He looked and saw a light glowing in the distance. "There's a light out there," crowed the rooster. And then the donkey said, "We need to find out what kind of light it is. Maybe it's very close. Is there a house?" "It may be possible to spend the night there," the dog said. "Maybe there's meat in the house too." "I'm hungry and I would not say no to some meat," the cat agreed. "Maybe there is fresh milk in the house too. I would drink some." And the rooster said, "Yes, and maybe there's some millet in the house. I would peck some." Then they got up and went to the light. They went out to the meadow and looked. There was a house in the meadow, and in the house the window glowed. The donkey went up to the house and looked in the window. The rooster asks him, "What do you see, donkey?" "I see, the donkey said, that the robbers are sitting at a table eating and drinking." "Oh, how hungry I am," the dog said. "Oh, how thirsty I am," said the cat. They had to think. "How can we make the robbers leave the house?" asked the rooster. They thought and finally came up with a plan. The donkey sat quietly, his front legs on the windowsill. The dog climbed on his back. Then the cat jumped on the back of the dog, and the rooster flew up on the head of the cat. And then they all screamed at the same time. The donkey like a donkey, the dog like a dog, the cat like a cat, and the rooster crowed. They all screamed, and they all fell into the room together through the window. The robbers got scared and ran into the forest. The donkey, the cat, the dog, and the rooster sat around the table and began to eat. They ate and drank and drank. Finally, they finished eating and drinking. They were tired and went to bed. The donkey settled down in the yard on some hay. The dog lay down in front of the door. The cat curled up on the warm stove, and the rooster flew up to the gate. They put out the fire in the house and fell asleep. And the robbers sat in the forest and looked at the house from a thicket. They saw the light go out in the window and it became dark. Then they sent a robber to check what was happening, to see what was going on in the house.
Maybe we shouldn't have been scared.
The robber went to the house. He opened the door and went into the kitchen. He looked and saw 2 lights burning on the stove. They were probably coals. The robber rejoiced.
That's good. I'll light a candle.
He poked a candle into the flame, and it turned out to be a cat's eye. The cat got angry, snorted, and jumped up. She scratched the robber's hand and hissed loudly. The robber tried to move to the door. At the door, the dog grabbed his leg. Then the robber ran into the yard. In the yard, the donkey kicked him with its hoof. The robber poked his head through the gate, and suddenly the rooster crowed from the gate.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
The robber rushed into the forest as fast as he could. He ran to his comrades and said, "We have trouble. There are terrible giants in the house. One of them scratched my face with long fingers, and another cut my leg with a knife. A third one hit me on the back with a club, and the fourth shouted at me, 'Stop, thief!'" "Oh," the robbers said, "we need to get away from this house as soon as possible." And the robbers left the forest. And the Bremen Town musicians, the donkey, the cat, the dog, and the rooster, stayed in the house and lived and lived. One by one, these unfortunate animals would surely die. But when they met, they became friends and began to help each other. Together they became strong. So always remember, if true friends are nearby, then no enemy should be feared and no danger should scare you. Subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and don't miss our new stories